Mass arrests are coming, Trump is signing new memorandums, and more hints are being dropped as the military is mobilizing. There's a lot to unpack. Let's get through each one, because what the media is telling you and showing you optically is different from what's going on behind the scenes. Guys, before I start, I want to remind you guys, I'm doing a fundraiser. We're almost at our goal. I would love your guys' support to get this channel, this word out to more people, because your funding and support helps go directly to this channel and the infrastructure behind everything. All the information is in my link in the description below, givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. You can also help me out through PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo if you so choose to. Thank you guys for supporting me, and let's get right into it. So if you haven't heard, there's some breaking news with the FBI director, James Comey, the former FBI director. He was indicted on charges from a grand jury for false statements and obstruction charges, two very high-level, big, treasonous charges, and this is coming out of Virginia from a federal grand jury. Now, of course, Comey is going to deny the charges, but this is very big news. So let's see what Trump quickly says about this, and then we'll get into some drops.
James Comey, now that James Comey has been indicted, who is the next person on your list in this retribution?
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats. Because Comey essentially was he was worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But no, there'll be others. Look, that's my opinion. They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope there are others, because you can't let this happen to a country.
Will you appoint a permanent U.S. attorney to try this case? Lindsey Halligan has never tried a case.
Well, we'll see, but it's a pretty easy case because, look, he lied. You saw my truth today. He lied. It was yes, no. He didn't say, well, in my opinion, he didn't do a lot of things that maybe he should have, but I don't think he could because he lied. That was a very important question that he was asked, and he wanted to be specific, but he didn't. The only thing that happened to him, he didn't think he'd get caught. That answer that he gave, that was a very important answer. And for him, it was a very good answer if he didn't get caught. But he got caught lying to Congress.
What's absolutely crazy about this is that there's a perfect 5-year delta to the T on September 25th from when this was brought up on the Q boards. Post 4769 says, worth remembering, think what you know now. And this is referring to a tweet that Comey had made. And here's the link to that tweet back in 2019 where he said, so it was all lies, no treason, no spying on the campaign, no tapping Trump's wires. It was just good people trying to protect America. This man, as Trump has been saying, spied and was treasonous to the United States of America. That is a very big deal. Not only the charges, but the fact that this was shown to us on the 25th of 2025. And look also on 4767. This is also a 5-year delta to the T, September 25th. Some will take the easy path and exit early. And this is regarding treasonous people that may have taken deals or brokered something. And the very next tweet, 4768, same day on September 25, judgment is coming, Q. And as I mentioned the other day, Pete Hegseth the other day orders all generals, all top military brass, generals, admirals across all branches of the military, an unprecedented, absolutely rare move to assemble in Virginia at Quantico. And so this is a huge deal. Now, some say, oh, he's just going to give a speech. CNN here talking about warrior ethos, and just other people speculating on what he's going to do, maybe give some medals and just kind of honor the new change of the name Secretary of Defense to Secretary of War and just other things like that. But we know this type of stuff, when you're pulling people from Navy ships and battle cruisers and whatever it is across the world, secret places and bunkers or wherever they are, you don't just do that from like a military security and analysis intelligence perspective. You don't just do that. There's something more than what the public is showing. And of course, Trump and JD Vance and others from a recent press conference downplayed it. But of course, they have to do that from a secrecy perspective. Trump has said before, never again will he telegraph what the military is going to do ever again. Now, what's even crazier is the two executive memorandums or orders that he signed on the 25th. Again, a 5-year delta from what he has mentioned, especially regarding Antifa. There's a post 4766 that was a couple before what I had mentioned before, designating the KKK and Antifa as terrorist organizations. Remember, he's saying that Antifa, or rather Q is saying that Antifa mapping began a long time ago. So let's quickly listen from Will Scharf on what he's presenting to Trump.
One of the most powerful deterrents we have to violent crime is the death penalty. As you said, your administration has taken bold, decisive steps to ensure that Washington, D.C. is once again a safe and secure city for its residents and all who visit. This is a presidential memorandum that directs your Attorney General and your U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Judge Jeanine Pirro, to fully implement the death penalty here in Washington, D.C., where the evidence and facts of a case indicate that the death penalty should be used.
Okay, everybody understand? Death penalty in Washington. You kill somebody, or if you kill a police officer, law enforcement officer, death penalty.
Now, of course, there's a public facade to show that, yes, this is for criminals and people on the streets. But look at what clandestine reminds us of. What crime carries the death penalty? Treason. So on the outside, for the public, for them to digest it and accept it, it's for criminals on the streets and these guys that are going to impact what is a very easy to understand concept of police officers and whoever else to, in essence, be vindicated. But really, in D.C. specifically, who needs to be tried and put to death? It's those that commit treason. Now, let's listen quickly to his next memorandum.
Thank you very much. Next.
Lastly, sir, this is a presidential memorandum on countering domestic terrorism and organized political violence. In recent weeks, months, and years, we've seen a tremendous upsurge in some highly visible, but also other acts of domestic terrorism and organized political violence being perpetrated by radical, politically motivated groups all over the country. What this presidential memorandum will do is set off an administration-wide response to that, ranging from the Joint Terrorism Task Forces to other components of the Department of Justice, to the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Treasury. We're looking at interdicting these groups, preventing them from performing acts of violence, and also looking at sources of organization and funding and support that prop them up and allow them to do the acts that they have been doing.
We're looking at the funders of a lot of these groups. And, when you see the signs, and they're all beautiful signs made professionally, these aren't your protesters that make the sign in their basement late in the evening because they really believe it. These are anarchists and agitators, professional anarchists and agitators, and they get hired by wealthy people, some of whom I know, I guess, probably know them. And you wouldn't know it. You're at dinner with them, everything's nice, and then you find out that they funded millions of dollars to these lunatics.
Now, one can look at all this and say, oh, he's doing like little bits and pieces, like tackling this and that and just kind of being isolated. But really, I believe, and many others believe, that the White Hats and this whole operation is all interconnected and that there's something bigger going on than what the public sees and what they're reporting individually. But really, there's a connectedness behind all of it. And so let's take a look at what Lisa May here says. This is a sequence of events, and it just clicks once you think about what's happening. The National Guard in place in D.C., military JAGs assigned to D.C. Again, that's military courts, military judges for treasonous things, right? For things above civilian type matters. Non-scalable fencing in place in D.C. Antifa classified as a terrorist organization. I'm not sure the significance of this next one, but Marine Silent Drill Team visits White House and POTUS gives them each a challenge coin. I mentioned this before, but Secretary of War, it's SecDef, but SecWar now, Hegseth, calls meeting of top military brass from all military branches for a meeting next week. And then, as mentioned, the Comey indictment and then the government shutdown may be likely. Again, this is always kind of comes up here and there, but it may happen next week. And then, of course, what just happened? POTUS signs a memorandum today dismantling left-wing terrorist groups and go after the funding sources, and then making a connection to possibly putting the puzzle pieces together for Red October. And that's post 2301, Red October. Stay tuned and watch Q+. That comes from Trump himself. And then others cluing in on the same thing. In this order, Trump brings in the National Guard. Trump brings in JAGs. Trump tells Bondi to move forward. Pete Hegseth calls in hundreds of generals and admirals. Comey gets indicted. People can hate all they want, but the dots keep connecting. This coming from Anon55 on X. And many others making other connections. Grasshopper17 here, if you're able to decipher all of this, but this is a deeper Q connections and all that. But one of the recent posts Trump has made regarding that UN, debacle where the escalator, the teleprompter, and his mic, which was just recent, all were sabotaged in some sense. And he makes a point of saying not one, not two, but three sinister events, and that ties to other Q posts here. And he's talking about also at the very end, emergency stop button. And one post that was interesting that stuck out to me was post 88 that he makes a connection to here, which is 10 days, darkness, and then all the regions across the world, South America, US, Asia, then the EU. The focus was US today, and then moving down here, military operations, operators in US, the Great Awakening. Now, some of these connections are a little bit too detailed for me, so it's hard for me to digest it. But the ones that keep popping up are those perfect deltas where there was a Q post from, 5 or whatever years ago, and it correlates to all these events that just happen day after day. Like, how is that coincidentally possible? It's not, because we're watching a movie play out. All of the white hats, everything that's already happened, it's already been forecasted. It's already been planned in some sense. They caught everybody in the act. Now they're just rolling it out very slowly such that the population, the general public, can digest it easily. They can accept it and they can be spoon-fed in some sense so that they're not overwhelmed and shocked from everything that's happened with regards to these crimes against humanity, this treasonous act, everything that's happened so far to date. And so all in all, guys, God has everything in his hands. He's allowing evil to be brought down, people to be vindicated, and the white hats, the good guys, to win for a season. And this is what we are doing. This is what we've been praying for. And we are seeing it happen right before our very eyes. So be encouraged. A lot more to come, guys. I also just want to remind you guys, if you guys want to support me, I would love to meet my goal. I think if we get to our goal, then we can move forward from this. But we're still not there yet. I would, even if just 100 people gave a little bit, I believe we can meet our goal. We're almost there, but we're still stalling in some sense. The link is down below, givesendgo.com/chrisyoonyt. If that doesn't work, alternatively, PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, all of that is in the description again down below. So love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Support me also with a like, comment, and a follow. Let's get the word out to others. Talk to you guys very soon.